Today on Typical Books, I have a whole bunch of books that I bought from a library book sale, from a collector online, from Amazon, I suppose, and where else? Oh yeah, a new bookstore that I discovered in a town nearby. So, yeah, it's a mix. It's a real mix from classics, not only horror, but just classics and horror, and some collections of horror, some little chapbooks of extreme horror. But yeah, we'll start out with some really gentle stuff. There's 3 more books, and when I bought them, I saw them at the library book sale, and they're massive books. They were $5 each, and I thought, oh my god, I need these, and I just scooped them up, and I asked them if I could set them somewhere because they were really heavy. And when I went back with these books to pick up the other books, they said, oh, it was you that had the arm curling stack. And I was like, well, you'll see it in a second. But yeah, Michael Kelly, Chilling Tales, this is edited by Michael Kelly. It's an anthology that I'd never heard of. It's put out by Edge Books here in Canada. I don't know if they're still around, but it must have been in a box from the day it was printed, because this is from 2011 and it's mint, unread, perfect condition, and I think it was $1. So this has Nancy Kilpatrick, Claude Lumiere, Brett Savory, Robert Wiersma, Richard Gavin, Barbara Roden, Lee Babette, Michael Colangelo, Simon Stanzas, Jason Riddler, Suzanne Church, David Nickel, Christopher Miller, Brent Hayward, Sandra Katsuri, Ian Rogers, Gemma Files, and Tia Travis, with an introduction by Michael Kelly. So those who love Canadian authors will recognize a lot of those names, and some of those names no doubt appear in the Northern Nights collection that I'm still reading right now. So this will be the next collection I'm reading after that, to stay on this Canadian thing. Because, you know, it's nice to buy Canadian right about now. So this will be a precursor to the arm curling stack, as it is called. This is Little Women by Louisa May Alcott. And all that I know of Little Women is from The Simpsons. And I know it does not end with they were no longer little girls, they were little women. It's kind of sort of like that, but not really. Those are not the words, but it's a modern reprinting. I think this is from the 2010s as well. But it looks classic. It is absolutely gorgeous. These end papers look marbled, but they are not, you know, I think it's a printed marble. I don't think that it's a marbled paper necessarily, but it's just a beautiful looking edition of Little Women, which I've never read. So I'm very excited to get into this. This is the Great Writers Collection, and I'm just looking here. Oh, it is kind of old. Not really. 1987, so not that old really, but yeah, gorgeous little book. Okay, the arm curling stack, I'm not going to pick all 3 of them up, but I'll show them off one at a time. This is Jane Austen, The Complete Novels, and it's just a massive marbled end papered, gorgeous hardcover book with a ribbon in it. I don't know if this one had been read. There are illustrations as well, and it is the complete works of Jane Austen, apparently. This has Sense and Sensibility, Persuasion, Pride and Prejudice, Emma, Mansfield Park, and Northanger Abbey, with illustrations by Hugh Thompson, Collector's Library Editions. Now I looked this up. It's worth a little more than the $5 I paid for it. Oh, maybe this one has been read because the ribbon's actually untucked. So that one was red. This one is green. Charles Dickens. I've got some of these. Great Expectations, David Copperfield, Oliver Twist, and A Christmas Carol. And it is, again, a gorgeous little edition with very pretty green end papers. And, you know, it's just basic. Very basic, very similar to the other one. I don't know if this is illustrated. Let's just see. I've got A Christmas Carol illustrated anyway. But, yeah. This isn't why I bought all of these. The reason I bought all of these is the other one. It's got some gilding. Not on every edge, but the top. And this one is unread because the ribbon is in the factory position. But yes, the reason I bought all 3 of these is to keep them as a set. And they're beautiful. I've read no Jane Austen. This is a nice collection with books I don't own of Charles Dickens, but this book is why I picked them up. This massive blue book, much like the others, gilt, cloth, ribbon. Let's see what these end papers are like. Just as beautiful. But these are the collected works of the Bronte sisters. and it has some illustrations as well. So this is why I bought this, because I've not read all of the Bronte sisters' work. It's got a wonderful introduction by, Catherine White, is that her name? Yes, Catherine White. And my God, it's beautiful. It's absolutely beautiful for $5. I mean, how could I not? So what have we got in here? We start out with Anne Bronte, Agnes Grey and the Tenant of Wildfowl Hall, which I've kept meaning to read. Charlotte Bronte, who we get to next, Jane Eyre, the Professor, Shirley Villette, who I've not read anything. And my favorite, Wuthering Heights by Emily Bronte, which I've read and own like 2 different copies of. But now I have a 3rd. So yeah, this set, I will pick them all up. It's heavy, but I'll do it for you. No one asks, everyone's asking, can I heft the arm curling stack? Yes, I can. They look really good, and like, I don't know where I'm going to put them on the shelf. I have to make sure they fit. If not, we have an oversized bookshelf upstairs, but I hope they'll end up down here. The only trouble with oversized books is actually reading them, right? I have a beautiful copy of The Shining, and I've read it twice now, that particular copy, and I have to lay it out on a table, and I read a certain amount of pages every day, and I keep it like open or like covered with a cloth so it doesn't get dusty, because it's just too unwieldy. You can't just hold it up. You need to like lay it down and sit there and read it. So I don't know what I'm going to do with those, but I'm going to read them. In the mail, I've got a box here. It's not necessarily an unboxing because I've opened it, but I ordered these myself. The Summer I Died, Ryan C. Thomas. This is the first book I've bought to go with my Extreme Horror Starter Pack challenge that I've imposed upon myself. There's 10 books there I need to read, so we'll start with The Summer I Died. And a bevy of beautiful chapbooks. Some of these are from Deadite Press, which is defunct, and I just love having them. One for the Road by Wesley Southard. Partners in Chime, Edward Lee and Ryan Harding. This is a limited chapbook. 3-way collection of hardcore horror, scary, Tom Pecorelli, Edward Lee, and Gerard Warner, which it's called Inside the Works. That's the name of it. Another Gerard Warner, because he wrote Pain Freak, which I enjoyed Into Pain Freak so much I thought I'll get as much Gerard Warner as I can. Road to Hell. And this is Pain Freak, 10 stories of pure erotic horror by Gerard Warner. Introduction by Tom Pecorelli. Now, you know I don't really go in for spicy writing. I don't like flesh on flesh, to do the Sue Johansson, Dr. Sue Johansson, penis in vagina thrusting. It's not interesting to me. But Pain Freak is, because I've spent time as a photographer in the fetish scene here and there and have friends involved in safe, sane, consensual areas of their life. So yeah, Pain Freak is very interesting to me, and it is, like a lot of good fiction, outside of the realm of my everyday, right? So Pain Freak will go along with Enter Pain Freak so nicely, and thank you to Fred for having such a wondrous collection and sharing it with people like me. The box that came ties into something I just finished reading. I just finished reading Everything the Darkness Eats by Eric LaRocca. And that's not my first Eric LaRocca. I liked the first Eric LaRocca I read better. I'll have a review on my website very soon. But his newest publisher, sorry for the noise here, this is beautiful. It's just been released, and this is the beginning of the Big Bald Head production of books. So while the Big Bald Head, Norman Reedus's company, owns the publisher, I think, or has worked with the publisher, or has distribution, or whatever, as far as I've read. This was like the first book put out by them. This is from Blackstone Publishing, so that is who I thank for sending this gorgeous copy along. And they are from Ashland, Oregon, which is awesome. I've never been to Ashland, Oregon, but every time I hear Ashland, I think of Pennsylvania, somewhere near Centralia, which is the fount of the film idea of Silent Hill. But yeah, At Dark I Become Loathsome by Eric LaRocca. I have higher hopes for this because it is his most recent work. I did like parts of, in the beginning of, Things have gotten worse since we last spoke. So yeah, it's got gorgeous black end papers, which I really love. Only through pain can we find healing. Only through death can we find new life. I'm hoping that the story stays with these two people. I think that was my problem with Everything the Darkness Eats, is that it was spread too thin between two stories. So yeah, maybe this will be a return to just the interactions between two people and that dynamic, which he was doing very, very well in his debut novella. I'm wondering if there's a black version of the other books as well. This is the last stack, which came from Reread Books out of Stittsville, which is nearby. And I looked on their website because they print a PDF of the books that they have, and they have them separated by genre. So I was very happy to find Little Eve by Katrina Ward and 2 Brian Lumley books, and then stumbled upon these. So yes, Little Eve by Katrina Ward. I love her work, and I've been looking forward to reading this and Looking Glass Sound as well. So this is the next one on my list. I love Sundial. I like The Last House on Needless Street quite a lot, but there was something about the desolation and isolation of Sundial that really worked for me. So I'm hoping that this will have the same sort of feel. Brian Lumley. People have often recommended Necroscope. It used to be in the house when I was a kid. I probably read it. I don't remember. But as far as vampire stories goes, and the second one, Vampiri. So these are larger trade paperbacks. I've never seen these particular editions before, but I think they're neat looking. I'm missing that cool art that was so striking, right? I'll put a picture up of that cool art because we know what I mean. These are kind of plain, but yeah, the modern vampire classic. I was not done with vampires though. Michael Romke books. This is a whole new discovery for me. You may remember previously when I picked up 2 Michael Romke books and was kind of giggling about them. I, Vampire and the Vampire Princess. I thought, oh wow, these sound like kind of rip-offs of Anne Rice. And I don't know if I'm right, but we'll find out. With I, Vampire, the Vampire Papers. So very much like the Vampire Lestat and Interview with a Vampire, right? And the Vampire Princess, I mean, come on, Vampire Hunter. So that's them in order now. I have 4 Michael Romke books. I can start anytime with I, Vampire and see if it does parallel Anne Rice's books with a more modern and spicy, kind of tongue-in-cheek way. I think that's how it's going to go. But I was so pleased to find just those 2, like they're sitting there for me, to finish off this set. The 2nd and 4th book when I found the 1st and 3rd. So I am pretty stoked to get to I, Vampire to start. The final book is not horror. Sit Down and Shut Up punk rock commentaries on Buddha, God, truth, sex, death, and Dogen's Treasury of the Right Dharma Eye by the author of Hardcore Zen, Brad Warner. I had heard Brad Warner years ago on the CBC radio on a Sunday afternoon. I don't know, I was cleaning the house listening to CBC, and he came on with a talk about hardcore Zen and the marriage of punk and Zen meditation. And I absolutely loved hearing him talk about it. And I followed him via his website here and there. And the idea that anyone can practice Zazen meditation. If you're interested in hearing more about Buddhism and books, definitely check out Jason's Weird Reads. From time to time he talks about his Buddhist interests and the books that he has on his shelf. But yeah, this is no doubt one of them. Brad Warner had groups that would meet online and all over the world, really, but mostly the US, that would be like very, very welcoming. Not that Buddhist centers aren't welcoming, but to see a guy with piercings and tattoos saying, yeah, come meditate, that's a little more welcoming to a lot of different people, right? So really opened up people's eyes to meditation and the right path. So yeah, I am already enjoying this. I often like to mix like a nonfiction book with fiction for whatever reason. Normally I like listening to the news or reading the news as well too, but lately I haven't been wanting to read the news, even though it's been overwhelmingly interesting. So I think that maybe I'll read more of that going forward the next couple days, because I've been reading far too much news. But yeah, have you read any of those Michael Romke? Of course, these beautiful classics, Jane Austen and the Bronte sisters, if not Charles Dickens himself, Louisa May Alcott. I mean, wow. Yeah, that's a lot of books, I realize. So I'm going to go on a little bit of a buying ban and concentrate on my backwards shelf of books and pick 2 more books off of my shelf to read before these inevitably get added to that stack. Is there anything here that you think I ought to be reading right away? Let me know in the comments below. Thank you so much for watching, and have an ooky, spooky day.